In today's video, I'm gonna reveal the best roast potatoes recipe, so make sure you stick till the end because I have some key elements that you need to follow in order to get the best results. If you ever wonder why your potatoes never taste like the one in the restaurant, well, we're gonna go through all the steps that you need to cover in order to get great results. First of all, make sure you choose a very good roasting potato variety, such as Maurice Piper. You can also consider King Edward's, it's a great potato variety, but Maurice Piper is an all-rounder and it works in many situations. When picking the potatoes, don't worry about having them all at the same size, because with different sizes we have different textures and it really works well with roast potatoes. The really small ones, leave them whole, slightly bigger cut them in half, and if you have bigger than that, cut them in 3 or 4 and you'll be fine. Once cut into the preferred size, wash them properly in cold water. You might need to change the water 2 or 3 times till the water comes nice and clean. Set the pot on the heat and transfer everything to the pot. Another mistake people make at this point is not adding enough salt to the water. No matter how much salt you're gonna add after that, it's not gonna be the same. So make sure you can actually taste the salt in the water. Your potatoes need about 10 minutes of cooking from when the water starts simmering, depending on how big the potatoes are. But let me show you a little trick on how to know every time when the potatoes are ready. After about 10 minutes of cooking, get one of the potatoes out and using a paring knife, try to scrape the outside layer of the potato. And if you can do this easily, that means the potatoes are ready. You don't want to cook these any further because you're gonna turn them into mush. This fluffy outside layer will ensure that we get perfect roast potatoes, so make sure you don't skip this step. You obviously don't need to use this all the time, but if you don't know what you're doing, this is a good little trick to know. You remove the potatoes from the heat, you got rid of that water, now give them about 5 minutes so the steam evaporates. Meanwhile, preheat your oven at 220 degrees Celsius or 428 Fahrenheit. Getting back to the potatoes, we're gonna do the seasoning. Start simple with salt and pepper, a quarter of teaspoon of salt and a good pinch of black pepper. Make sure it's freshly grounded, it really makes the difference. And after that, I'm highly recommending to add some herbs into this recipe. And if you usually stop to salt and pepper, that's another mistake you make, because there is so much flavor you're missing out. Get a few sprigs of rosemary and get a few sprigs of thyme. These are just the basics, but you could add sage, you could add bay leaves, there are quite a few possibilities. Now another tip, in my opinion, in order to get the best results, you need to use goose fat or duck fat. The high value of saturated fats will ensure that your potatoes get very crispy. I'm using about 150 grams of goose fat. If you are vegetarian, don't panic. You can use an oil that's resistant to high temperatures, but you're not gonna get quite the same results. Whether you are using oil or fat, make sure you get the tray in the oven for about 5 minutes or until it gets pretty hot, before adding the potatoes. Once you got the tray out and the fat is hot enough, you can transfer the potatoes into the tray. Another key step to remember, when you add the potatoes into the tray, make sure you add them in one layer and leave some space in between. That will guarantee the crispiness we're looking for. Give them a good mix and cover them into that fat. That outside layer that we talked about earlier will turn kind of mushy, but don't worry, that's what we need. That will absorb the hot fat, and once it hits that hot oven, will turn very crispy. I mentioned about salt, pepper, a lot of herbs, but what about some garlic? Get a whole head of garlic, cut it in half and place it flat side down into the tray. This might look a lot, but trust me, after roasting you're only gonna get a slight aroma of garlic, so don't panic. Total roasting time will be about 45 to 50 minutes. But halfway through, when the potatoes get kind of golden, get them out and flip them. This will ensure that all sides of the potatoes get nice and crispy evenly, or kind of evenly, but much better than not doing this step. Let the second part of cooking begin, another 20 to 25 minutes or until the potatoes get nice and golden brown in color. Transfer them from the tray and serve them right away, nice and crispy. You can garnish them with fresh thyme if you want to. And don't forget, this is just the first episode of the series Christmas at Home this year, so make sure you stick around and I'll see you next Friday with a new episode, when I'll show you my Christmas turkey recipe with minimum wastage.